I think this does have to be a very simple system. It has to be a relatively complete framework that, regardless of who the message is from or what kind of content type it is, you know how to deal with everything that comes into your world. You're reducing the number of possible options for what something could be and turning it into a relatively small number of verbs for what you can actually do with any of this stuff. I think one of the most important things an email system can do is to build walls where they don't yet exist. A lot of people right now are, for practical purposes, living in their inbox. They leave their email open all day long. It's auto-checking throughout the day. Little blips come up about every minute. And email becomes the nexus for everything they do with work. They use it as a to-do list manager. They use it as a calendar. And if you're a knowledge worker, the two most precious natural resources you've got are your time and your attention. They're both finite, and they're both irreplaceable. There's no way you're ever going to add a couple hours to the day. And as much as you Emacs people probably think it's possible, you can't actually do 17 things at one time. Multitasking, in my experience, tends to be something of a myth. Where you decide to put your time and attention says a lot about who you are. It says a lot about you as a human being. You have some idea in your head of all the stuff that's high priority to you, right? All the stuff that really matters. If I sat down and ask you, what's really important to you? You go, oh, my family and my church group, and I'm a deacon. But then I go and I look in your email box and your news feeds and your web browser. If I went and I got all CSI on that, what would the last 2 weeks of your electronic life say about how it maps to the stuff that you claim is really important? Maybe really well, in which case you should leave. But if you're like me and you struggle with that, you need to have these walls, and you need to find ways to honor where your time and attention go. And there's probably no better way to have your time burgled than by not having a healthy relationship with your email and not having a sense of where stuff belongs. As much as your time and your attention are finite, the demands on your time and attention are infinite. There's no end to how much people can ask of your time and your attention. You're ultimately the one who's going to have to make decisions about how your attention and your time map to the things that you actually do, the actions in your life. It's good to think about the amount of available time and effort as representing a box. And that's a box that's got a certain number of cubic inches available in it, and you can put whatever you want into it. But every kind of task that you want to add to that box is basically like a little block. Big tasks are big blocks, and little tasks are little blocks. But no matter how you cut them up, there's still only so many cubic inches in the box. And the fact of the matter is it's all about opportunity cost. Every time you put a crap block into your box, it means a really cool block doesn't get to go in there. And as much as we sometimes feel like we're beholden to bosses and teams, we're ultimately the traffic cop for this kind of stuff. So one idea behind this is obviously kind of a more general point, but I think it really keys to the idea of inbox zero, because it's a way of saying that ultimately you want to not have to worry about taking stupid blocks out of the box. It's better to make sure they never get in there in the first place. And that requires a very kind of proactive approach to managing the action in your life. And that's really what this is all about. If you're managing actions, you're ensuring that your time and attention are always mapping to the stuff that you claim is important. Processing is probably the most important piece of that in terms of how this is going to be affecting you from day to day. I think one of the problems is that a lot of people, especially kind of the BlackBerry kids, think that checking is enough. I'm going to check my email. Gotta go. Check my email. Well, if you check something, and theoretically you're doing that, so what? Because there's a fire in there that might be coming up? Okay, well, you checked it and there's no fire. But there's also 5 other emails that you haven't done anything with. Well, checking brings with it a certain amount of responsibility. If you're checking on your friend's cat while they're out of town, it's incumbent upon you to tell them if anything goes wrong with the cat. If you're checking on Monday and the cat's fine, checking on Tuesday, the cat's fine. Checking on Wednesday, it's spontaneously combusted. You don't just come back on Thursday and hope that it got better. You've checked on the cat and there's a problem, and now you deal with it. Don't let your BlackBerry turn into exploding cats. That's not a good thing. But yet at the same time, the good news is that it means less than responding, right? There's more than checking, less than responding. Responding is one possible outcome of processing, but it's not the only one. That's 1993 talking. Every time you think, every email you get needs a response. I know most of you probably aren't in that place, but somewhere search your mind and see if there's maybe some little corner that still thinks, oh man, I got to respond to 200 emails. And you don't. You got to process 200 emails, which is so different. I have this idea that if you work in a deli and you're behind the counter, people keep bringing you orders. A lot of people I know would think, these orders are really interesting. I should check to see if I have any new orders. Yeah, 5 more orders. Okay. I get any new orders? Oh, yeah, I got a couple more orders. I wonder how should I organize these? Should I alphabetical or maybe numerical? No, you're making sandwiches. You're not stacking. The whole point of this is to go make a damn sandwich. If you just sat around all day trying to figure out, are there any new orders? That's not the point. Focus on putting out the sandwiches and don't worry so much about the orders. This is my system. This is what works for me. Okay, so your N number here might be different. But for the way I do this, there's 5 potential things that can happen to any email. 5 and only 5 verbs that tell me everything I can do with an email. Why is this a good thing? Well, like right now, just think to yourself, imagine your inbox. Is there any email in your inbox right now that you've read, but you haven't done anything about? Maybe a couple of you. Chances are because you haven't really thought about what the possible verbs are. And it's weirdly comforting once you know what those verbs are for yourself in your own little system. It can be weirdly comforting to be able to just blow through that stuff. Oh gosh, you should delete so much of your email. It's just unbelievable how much email you can delete or archive. These are kind of roughly in the order of desirability, just for the way I think about this stuff. But if I can delete an email, boy, I'm for damn sure going to delete it. I'm going to get it out of there. The default state of your inbox should probably not be keep sitting here until I start weeping. That's not a good approach. If you find yourself with the little scroll wheel going up and down while tears run down your face, like something's not working. And so, can you delete it? Okay, delete it. That's great. Is this something where this would really be better for somebody else to do? You can delegate it to somebody else. That could be delegated horizontally or vertically. It just means somebody else is going to work on it. If it's an email that you can respond to very quickly, just blow out a 1, 2, 3 line response in 1 or 2 minutes. Keep moving. Keep the ball in motion. It might be something that you want to defer. This can be a tricky one. But if it's something where you need to respond to this, but it's going to take a little bit of outside work, it's still primarily an email-based task, you might want to kind of put that aside to do for later on. And then finally, if it's something you can do, go do it now and be done with it, right? Advanced common sense, yes, I will give you that. But if you can find out what your little verbs are and then make sure that you're always doing them, you're never going to have that stuff stacking up in your inbox again. Because you know there's only so many outcomes, and it's just a matter of you, as quickly as possible, determining which one of those outcomes it is, and then dispensing it as quick as you can. But anything that doesn't have any place in your life and never will, get rid of. That said, if there is stuff that you will need in the future, archive it. And what is archiving? Archiving, for me, is a single folder. It's a single folder called archive. It's not 24 folders, friend. It's not coming up with the most crazy Byzantine taxonomically complete system that you can think of. Because be honest, for those of you who do have the 24 folder Byzantine system, when's the last time you used it to actually find anything? Maybe you do. Maybe you use it all the time. You, sir, will win a prize. But for most of you, I've seen you. You sit there and you go, wow, this is going to be definitely 2007, July, blog related. Is it blog related or CMS? Really, it's more like my Ruby Ultimate Golf group. Really, it should go here, but I'll tag it and duplicate it. Dude, it's the modern age. You got the frickin' Gmail. Search for it. Flag it. If you need to flag it and put it into a folder, that's great.